Now I'm pleased to turn the mic over to Tristram Johnson of Landmark Trust USA, and to all of you, and to congratulate all of you, and express my appreciation to all of you, both for being here and for taking part in the writing.
First of all, who am I? Why am I up here? I'm the interim director, executive director of Landmark Trust USA, and we own Nalaka, where some of you all may have already been on your school tour or at the Just So Stories enactment by Jackson Gilman. And this year, Landmark Trust is celebrating its 25th birthday. 1991 we got started. And so one thing we could do is celebrate 25 years, or we could celebrate that we have 5 historic buildings that we've restored and now are available for people to use for vacations. But that doesn't seem anywhere near as interesting or as inviting as what Lynn Barrett came up with, which was, why don't we launch the Rudyard Kipling Young Writers Award? And that was, to me, was a hook. That was a no-brainer. So we jumped on that one. And quite personally, I care very much about literature. I care very much about writing and imagination, fiction. And so I want Rudyard Kipling and his home to be much more than a physical thing on the hillside. I want it much more to be a stimulus that provokes thought and creates the numerous Just So Stories that you all create. We have an album about like this. Thank you, Sue Newman. From the years, the 16 years of Just So Stories enactments, and that some of you students have then created, and they're great, great stories. But it's a wonderful thing. I would like to take this time to say thank you to John Potter, the director of the Latchis, who has been a tremendous supporter for all that we've been doing, making this available, offering us the movie Kim free of charge after this event is over. Donations would be appreciated, but not obligatory. That's for you to enjoy after we're done. I would like to thank Sue Newman and Molly Stoner and Eric Tumar, the 3 teachers who played a key role in defining the product submission guidelines so that you all knew what you had to write. If it weren't for those 3 teachers providing the guidance for you all, the submissions could have been all over the map. But the 3 of them really dedicated an amount of time to help you all confine your efforts so that there was a product that would be easily read and judged by our 5 judges, right? 5? No, 4? There really are 5. But the 5th really has family medical emergency, so she couldn't be here. That's Veranda Court. But Dee Dee Cummings, Jerry Carboni, Karen Hess, and Tim Weed dedicated a tremendous amount of time to, one, getting organized around receiving 89 pieces of work, figuring out how they could sort them between the 3 categories, so sharing, some of them have expertise in poetry, some not, so they would divide amongst their skills, and then coming up with a final list. Yeah, that's why we're here, right? And so they did a wonderful job, and we learned a lot about how to record data in the future. So this will not be a one-time event, we're going to do it. You all deserve an enormous round of applause. Your kids, this is for you. It was truly amazing what we pulled off in about 4 weeks. And the fact that you all dedicated what you dedicated, the enthusiasm you gave. Some of the most fabulous notes I had throughout this process came from teachers and parents who were astounded by what you guys were doing, what you were invested in, what you were creating. And that was the whole point. And I hope that you don't stop. It's really what makes this world wonderful if you can, delve into your imagination, create worlds that are special. We had 89 responses. Well, actually 90, because 2 people worked on one. So I guess you could say it's 90. We had 89 responses in 4 weeks. That's amazing. Just amazing. 14 poems, 67 prose pieces, and 8 nonfiction pieces. Astounding. Congratulations. In the back of the room, there are a number of boring white sheets of paper. Underneath them are the winner's submissions. So when we're done up here, they will stay up here until next Sunday, so that whoever comes in will be able to read what was submitted and earn an award. At this point, I would like to pass the podium to Tim Wee, who will now proceed with discussing the awards.
Thank you all for coming, and thanks to all of you guys for organizing this. This is a fantastic thing. I'm really proud to be part of this. And well, I just want to start with a couple of quotes from Rudyard Kipling. Words are, of course, the most powerful drug used by mankind. If history were taught in the form of stories, it would never be forgotten. Gardens are not made by singing, "Oh, how beautiful," and sitting in the shade. These words of wisdom from Rudyard Kipling could easily have been in the mind of the talented young writers who submitted their work to the first annual Rudyard Kipling Writers Award. These are students who understand the power of story to get to the deeper truths of life, and they proved themselves willing to get out of their comfortable seats in the shade and away from the easy trance state offered by computer screens and smartphones to put in the work of making beautiful gardens. I was very impressed with all the pieces that I read, not just the winners and the honorable mentions, but all of them. So good job, you guys. Really, it's really great that you took the time and did this, and very talented group of writers. Writing is hard work, but it's worth the effort. Storytelling is one of the few things that makes the human race special among the other creatures with whom we share this beautiful planet. It's something we can do to make the world a better place. So I urge all of you to keep going with it. Don't give up. Do it throughout your lives. And one more piece of advice for those of you who aspire to be writers someday, and for those of you who don't. My advice is very simple. Read. Read voraciously, read widely, read adventurously with an open mind and an open heart. Embrace the immersion and escape that good books can offer. Reading is essential training for becoming a writer, but my advice applies equally to anyone who wants to live their life to the fullest. If you read, you will never be lonely. You will have a greater appreciation for the world. You'll be a better thinker, and you'll strengthen your grasp on the essentially human capacities of imagination, analysis, and empathy. Developing a lifelong reading habit will make you a more complete, more interesting person. And reading will bring you the kind of long-term fulfillment and happiness that is simply not available any other way. So read. And I want to close my little piece of this with a final word of advice from Mr. Rudyard Kipling. Take everything you like seriously, except yourselves. So, thanks. Congratulations again.
Hi, everybody. My name is Dee Dee Cummings, and I'm a poet. I'm also a publisher, and I write for Vermont Public Radio, and I have like 4 jobs. I also design books. So, I have a little present to pass around, along with my business cards, and you'll see why. So I'm gonna pass this around. This is a teeny tiny little edition of Rudyard Kipling's How the Leopard Got His Spots. How many people know that story? So, Tristram is going to pass the little book around. I just want you to see it and take a card with you home. The reason, it's not like an advertising thing, believe me, but I'm a publisher of Green Writers Press right here in Brattleboro. And our intern from Bennington College, who is 18 years old, Caitlin Plukas from Monterey Bay, California, she is going to work on starting up an online literary magazine for children that focuses on nature and the environment and saving the planet. So we want to hear from you, young, amazing writers. Does that sound okay? Some nods, awesome, great. Now, that said, the digital age, you know, it's It's here, clearly. That little book that I'm passing around, you will notice there's a little bite taken out of it in the corner. We think it was our puppy who wanted to eat the book. Don't worry, it's been sterilized. But my daughter, Emma Carmichael, who's now 6 feet tall, she went to Green Street, she went to BAMS, she went to Brattleboro High School, and then she went off to college. She's an editor-in-chief of an online feminist women's magazine in New York City. She has 14 women who write underneath her. She's the boss. And she started right here in Brattleboro, and she won a UVM Young Writers Award when she was in 9th grade. And she's a writer, and she's making a very good living as a writer. So when I graduated from college, I was an English major, and a lot of people said to me, "Oh, too bad, you're an English major." And I was like, yeah, it's great. It's a great major because learning how to write and being a good writer, you can use it for anything you do. You know, whether you're a doctor or a lawyer or a police chief or a soldier, whatever. Writing is a wonderful thing. And as our hero, Rudyard Kipling, hero, as the focus of the competition here, which isn't a competition, is Rudyard Kipling. And I'm going to quote 4 lines of a stanza of one of his poems, because I think it's applicable. And the name of this poem, he wrote a lot of poems, is called If. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss and lose and start again at your beginnings and never breathe a word about your loss. So my feeling as a writer is don't give up. If you don't win a fancy award, don't worry about it. Your voice still can be heard. That's why we want to encourage writers, young writers. It's really important. And poetry especially is important. For children to learn about poetry, to read poetry, and to write it themselves is so valuable. You know, it's one thing to go on Twitter and type in 150 characters, but teaching kids about the tradition of haiku and their observations of nature and poetry in general, it's another thing altogether. Poetry is a way for kids to slow down the pace of their lives and really focus on something that is inspiring. You know, a lot of times we get busy with schoolwork and commuting and chores and TV and radio, and so my advice as a poet is to get out into nature and walk. Go on a hiking trail. I found my voice as a poet at a very young age. Poetry can really inspire young students to give voice to their opinions and observations in a form that's accessible, and it's something you can share easily. I encourage all the students to start reading poetry this summer and learn about the different types of poems and forms of poetry, like couplets and sonnets and rhyme schemes and the rhythm of poetry. Also, students can practice slam poetry and spoken word poetry. Today's students can even branch out once they are familiar with traditions of poetry, which I think are really important, by the way, to experiment with found poetry in the area around Brattleboro. You can make a poem out of, say, road signs or the different kinds of cows. One of the most important things about poetry and writing in general for young writers is sharing your work and reaching an audience. Don't be shy. You can experiment with different writing techniques and make your voice heard. You can also make a difference in the world through using poetry as an activist tool to draw attention to preserving the natural world, which is what we are excited about doing at Green Writers Press. Thank you, and congratulations to everyone. We had a wonderful time judging.
Even though there are 11 quote word submissions that rose above the others, just as Dee Dee said, don't quit. This isn't a one-shot effort. Writing is wonderful, a great personal exercise, but the courage to actually have put those words on paper is really what it's all about. So thank you again. And don't be discouraged if you aren't part of the 11. Next year you might be.
And again, just, we applaud you for writing and for entering, because they were all great. We enjoyed reading all of them. So, okay. So I will go ahead and start reading with the honorable mentions, and we'll start with the honorable mentions in prose. And as I read, should they come up?
Yes.
Okay. And
please
then
come up.
if you're here, come up. If you're not here, don't come up. Okay. So the honorable mentions in prose. The first one is How Vermont Got Its Green Mountains by Kay Tustin. Yeah? Okay. And
Kate, are you here?
Kate is not here. Okay. The second one is How the Beaver Got Her Long Teeth by Sadie Mills. Is Sadie not here? Okay.
Oops.
And the third prose honorable mention is The Stories of Nalaka, Damian Markovic. Yay, Damian! And okay, and good job, Damian.
Turn around this way so we can get a photograph. Congratulations.
Great.
Good. All right. You want to say anything?
Speech.
I had fun writing this. It was a nice experience.
We really enjoyed reading it. Congratulations. Okay, and one more honorable mention in prose, and that is How the Cat Got Its Whiskers by Kalia Tomlonis. Is that, or Kalia? Kalia? Did I say it? Kalia. Kalia. I should do the top one up first.
Turning page nine. Congratulations. Hang up, shake your hand. Got it?
And then you can go shake hands with all the
Shake
other
your
judges.
hand.
They'd like to say
Want to say
hello.
anything? Okay, go ahead.
Congratulations.
Good job.
Actually, it looks like we do have one more honorable mention. Sorry, it's a little out of order here. It's called How Rudyard Kipling Got His Imagination by Carly Gallivan.
Congratulations, Carly.
Thank you. Come on. There we go.
You want to say anything?
Well done, Carly. We really enjoyed it. Okay, so and now I want to do the top winner for prose. We're going to have a prose, poetry, and then poetry, and then we're going to have an overall winner. The top winner for prose is Why the Guinea Pig Has No Tail by Imani Namutebi. Yeah.
Congratulations. The top winners in for poetry and prose
Imani?
will get a one-night stay at the Kipling Carriage House with people of their choosing, not necessarily your parents, so you better be good, as well as a tour of Nalaka. So here you go.
Do you want to say anything? We really enjoyed it.
Okay, poetry. So we have 3 honorable mentions in poetry. We didn't get quite as many submissions in poetry, 14 versus, what was it, 40 something?
67.
Oh boy, 67 in prose. But next year I hope we'll have equal number of poetry. So tell your friends and write poetry as well. So we have the honorable mention They're just not really in any order, but the first one is a poem by Anna Sophie Cummings. Is she here? It's called Drip, Flip, Flop. Congratulations to Anna. Of course, Anna has the same last name as I do, so that helped, huh? Hey, congrats, Anna Cummings, too. My 6th grade teacher was Mrs. Cummings, and she loved me. Congratulations to Anna. So, another honorable mention in poetry is a poem by Isabel Greenewald entitled Questions to a River. And here she comes. Awesome. Very nicely done. You know, a poem about place and where you live. Excellent.
Congratulations.
Slow camera.
Well, while we were writing, while I wrote this poem, we were writing about rivers, and it was nice because we actually got to spend time at the river while we were writing it, and that was nice.
Hopefully, the poets and writers will submit some of these pieces to the online Green Writers Press, the Hopper. So the third runner-up is a poem by Genevieve Redmond entitled Flower to Flower. This is a great time of year for Genevieve's poem, don't you think?
Yeah.
Flowers are everywhere.
Congratulations, Genevieve. Keep the camera.
Thank you.
You want to say anything? Okay.
Her poem speaks for itself. And remember, you know, winning is great, but you really, we have top prizes, but you're all winners. I was volunteering at Girls on the Run in Brattleboro, and all the runners who had #1 on their pennies, all #1. So the top prize poetry winner, that said, is a poem by Alessia Talini called The First Pair of Skis. Here she comes. And this is also a carriage house,
That's right.
right?
Yep. This also is a one night at the carriage house, the Kipling Carriage House. You can invite whomever you like. So if your parents deserve it, they get to say with you.
You want to shake the other judges?
We all laughed at the end of the poem. It's really wonderful.
So be sure to read it. Okay, so we're down to the very last winner, and this is the overall winner. We were all unanimous in our feeling about this as the top prize, so I would like to ask Elsie Fleming to please come up. No?
One more.
You want to say anything?
No.
So the top prize for Elsie is a one-night stay in Nalaka, where she can invite 7 of her friends. It's up to her who they are, so you'll all have to work really hard, right?
Just thanks again for entering the contest. It was great to read your work. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, thank you.
So I think the idea is to walk. Absolutely.